And we are here. We are here. Don is here. The whole gang is not here. How you doing tonight, Don?
Hey, good evening, Jordan. Happy Thursday. We are coming up on a huge race weekend. What do you got for me, bud?
Well, Ross Chastain will be racing the number 92 DGM Racing uh, at Iowa Speedway in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Interesting.
Yep, they just made that announcement not so long ago. And also, Team McLaren talked with Rick Hendrick the other day and asked him about will Kyle Larson be pulled from the Indy 500 due to if it's delayed by weather, and his response was it will be hard to pull Larson out of that car. So, with that being said, it seems to me as a plan to keep him in the car and have Justin Allgaier start the Coca-Cola 600 until Kyle can get to Charlotte from Indy.
Huh, how interesting. I've actually seen a lot of conversation online, people back and forth discussing Kyle Larson, his Indy race, the weather, and how that affects the Coke 600. And I chimed in myself, and I was misinformed. I thought he had a contract with NASCAR and Hendrick that if he misses a race without permission, that he's not eligible for the playoffs. Now, is that something that's inaccurate? Because I had people jumping on me saying it's not that important and he doesn't have to be at every race and this, that, and the other. So I just want to make sure I've got my information clear as far as if Kyle Larson is not able to compete in the Coke 600 this weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, is he still eligible for the NASCAR playoffs at the end of the season?
Well, he already has a win this season, so he's already
He has a
eligible.
win, but as far as an inexcused,
When
because
this
he's
when
he's choosing to go race another sport entirely, and that's affecting his Cup career.
when Kyle Larson signed the contract with McLaren, Rick Hendrick is the owner of that car. So
I
Rick
understand.
Hendrick has to say. So Rick Hendrick and NASCAR teamed up to
Okay.
put Kyle Larson in that car. So therefore, if Larson has to miss the beginning of the Coca-Cola 600, he will still be in the playoffs at the end of the season.
Okay.
He's automatically going to get that waiver. It's just like anybody else, like with Kyle Busch when he had his injury. Chase Elliott
Right.
had his stupid injury.
Right.
And you're automatically going to get a waiver because you signed a contract with Hendrick Motorsports, with McLaren and IndyCar to race. So they're not going to, relieve him of his
Say it again, Jordan. You broke up at the end.
that would cause a huge uproar if they was to take him out of his playoff spot that he earned by winning a race.
Right. And again, I was just going off of what I saw on Instagram and X, and people going back and forth. Now,
Yeah,
as
I don't.
far
Now,
as
mhm. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
I was going to say, as far as Kyle, if the Indy 500 gets pushed far enough back to where he's forced to miss the Coke 600, that's kind of disappointing to fans that have been looking forward to the Charlotte race all year, right? Because Larson's got one of the
Mhm.
biggest fan bases in NASCAR, and if he's not showing up to one of his races that he's supposed to show up to, that's kind of messed up, isn't it? I mean, and
I mean, it
I'm not.
is. I mean, it is, but Rick Hendrick said even if he has to miss the start of the Coca-Cola 600, when he's done in Indianapolis, he will get to Charlotte and he will be put back. He will be put in that car, whether it's 100 laps in or 200 laps in. No matter how many laps in, he's still going to be put.
Right. And so yeah, so if he is not able to make it in time for the 600, that's going to leave some disappointed people along the way, I'm sure.
I mean, it would, but but McLaren has a plan. If for some reason the race does start and it gets to, and let's say Carl Lesson does start the Indy 500 and Ring comes in to the middle of the race and he has to leave, McLaren has a relief driver on standby just in case Larson has to step out of that car. The
Okay,
rumor,
I
the
got you.
rumor,
That's the part I was missing. Okay.
yeah, the rumor is if he has to step out Tony Kanaan will step into that car to finish out the rest of the 500, or the driver who missed the Indianapolis 500 because he crashed out, Nolan Siegel, because he is a rookie in the series this year and he is racing for points, he would be filling in for Kyle Larson through the race if needed. That's just the plan, but McLaren hasn't really said anything. McLaren is not going to say any until at least probably tomorrow or Saturday what the plan is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. I'm having stupid connection issues too myself, but you know what? It is what it is. The show must go on.
Right.
But that's pretty much what it is.
Any Indianapolis 500 updates for us to cover?
So tomorrow is carb day. So tomorrow will be carb day. It is the final practice, and it also will be the pit stop competition. That ought to be fun. So basically, how IndyCar does the pit stop competition is you have two cars side by side, kind of like how it was when they used to do with the All-Star, at like the Time Warner Spectrum, whatever the hell it was called back in the day.
Right.
They do it that way, and the fastest, it's like a bracket. Basically, the fastest team wins. Not only do they win carb day, but they also win the pit competition. What I hate about carb day is the Freedom 100 doesn't happen anymore for the Indy NXT. And a lot of us fans that have been fans of IndyCar for the past, I've been an IndyCar fan since 2000 and I'm going to say 4 or whatever. And the Freedom 100 was always a tradition. And when Roger Penske took it away, I was thinking, well, that's bullshit. I mean, some of these drivers are going to one day race on that track in the 500, and the Freedom 100 gives them an example of what it's going to be like to race on the oval at full speed around IMS. But I get it, though. I get it. It's all about marketing and sponsorships and the funding. I get it.
Right.
It's stupid, but, it is what it is. But I tell you, though, it's going to be, but the question is, if the rain holds off in both Indy and Charlotte, does Kyle Larson become the second driver to complete all 1,100 miles?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the odds, you got to get really lucky, right? These races are unpredictable. There's an insane amount of variables that go into not only completing a race, but having a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
But he is absolutely, he's really good at taking care of his stuff. I absolutely believe that if he is able to take care of that IndyCar, he will absolutely be able to complete that 500, fly out to the East Coast, and rattle off another 600 miles.
Now, what would really be historic is if not only does he win Indy, goes to Charlotte and wins the 600. He'd be the first driver to do that.
He would be the first driver to do it. Now, if you're giving me $100 and asking me to place a bet on it, I would not bet that Kyle Larson is going to win both of these races again. There's so much that goes into even competing for wins, much less actually getting both wins, and then both of them happen on the same day.
Now,
on top of that being Kyle Larson's first Indy race, we don't know if he's going to be able to navigate through this very well. We know he's a phenomenal driver.
Absolutely. No matter what you stick to, no matter what type of car you stick, whether it's an Indy car, a dirt car, a cup car, an Xfinity car, a truck, he's going to freaking try and win, and he's going to be fast.
But he's got a bunch of veterans out there trying to win an Indy 500 too.
That is true. Now, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Johnson tried it. He led 2 laps at the Indianapolis 500. He did a phenomenal job. Was he a shoe in the win? Absolutely not. He wasn't doing it to compete for a championship. He was doing it to compete just to have fun. Right.
He wanted the experience.
That's all he wanted, and that's okay. And when you're one of the of this generation's best driver, look, every generation has a driver. Richard Petty was a generation for a certain generation. 7 championships. Earnhardt, 80s, 90s. 7 championships. That was his driver. Let's see. Richard Petty was 60s, 70s, and 80s, I want to say, for championships. Earnhardt was 80s, 90s. Johnson was the early 2000s and the 2010s.
Yeah, Jimmy's first one I think was 2006 to 2011, and then he got a couple more
Yep.
out.
Now, with that being said, who is this generation's driver to win multiple championships? Is it Logano? Is it Larson? Is it Elliott? It could be anybody. Only time will tell over the next 10 years.
You know, it's a great question. As far as a fan standpoint, I think it's really cool that we don't have a driver rattling off championship after championship after championship, because that does kind of get, you know, that if you're not of that specific fan base, that gets a little, it wears on you a little bit. And I think that might have contributed to NASCAR's struggles there in the teen years, right?
Yeah.
Uh, as far as I think fans just got tired of seeing the same dude in winter circle and the same dude lifting
Hmm.
the trophy at the end of the year. Now that
Right.
we've got a lot more parity and a lot more drivers capable of winning and rattling off championships, it's got fans from all different angles coming back around again. And I think that's why we're seeing the resurgence that we're seeing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the Formula One side, Max Verstappen wins almost literally every race. If
Right.
Formula One would follow NASCAR's format, it would be have you'd have different winners, not just the same driver winning all the time. You'd have guys like Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez, Lando Norris, guys that can win that haven't won because Max Verstappen is dominating the entire series. So it's
What
like
it is about Formula One is they're still putting 200,000 people in every single race,
they really are
and it
because it
doesn't
is a
make
global
sense.
phenomenon. Let's see, like for example, Miami sold out. Coda sold out.
Yep,
Las Vegas sold out.
that's just the American tracks.
That's the American track. Yeah, Australia sells out. Austria sold out. Germany sells out. All those European races they sell out most of the time. Now,
Monaco.
Formula Monaco, especially Monaco. Speaking of Monaco, we got Monaco race weekend, the biggest weekend in all of motorsports.
Yes, sir.
Formula One, Indy 500, NASCAR Coca-Cola 600. It is going to be a phenomenal, beautiful weekend of racing. Now,
And this is a
there,
great weekend.
it is the biggest racing week. Oh, and also you got former alumni of the show, Jade Avestian, racing here in Ohio, Memorial Day weekend down in Chillicothe at Atomic Speedway for the Extreme Outlaws Memorial Day weekend, the 24th and the 25th. So you got dirt racing, you've got Charlotte, you've got Indy, you've got F1, you've got some of the biggest names in racing on Memorial Weekend. The other few weeks, I think it was either last year or a couple of years ago, somebody was like, "Could a driver ever do the triple?" And I said, "How the hell is that possible? Monaco's on the other side of the world. Then they'd have to get. It takes about I don't know, maybe 18 to 20 hours to get to Monaco, and then from Monaco to Indy to Charlotte, it'd be very impossible to do."
Right.
Some people just don't. Some people don't think.
Right. Sounds like you got a little action behind you there, bud.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's summertime. Stuff happens, but now I'm loving the Stars and Stripes paint schemes for this weekend. I kind of miss how they used to do it. I remember I'm going to go based off of what Kevin said. It was either today or yesterday about the throwback weekend at Darlington. I don't feel like it has that oomph anymore. Like all the drivers that participate. I mean, should they move the throwback weekend back to the Southern 500? That is the question.
Listen, I think NASCAR made a choice to create two different events for fans to be able to enjoy, and I think they would be taking maybe like a half a step back if they decided to push it all into one event again, because all the teams and all the sponsors, they're going to run all their random schemes anyway, whether they're throwbacks, whether they're
Mhm.
brand new, whether they're whatever. But I think it's good that they have it at separate events. You got your All-Star race, you got your Stars and Stripes at Charlotte, and you got your
Yep.
throwback at Darlington. I think that's really good to have different,
Mhm.
um, yes, theme, I guess, would be the correct word.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, in my own personal opinion, I like that they're separate. I like that there's a Darlington weekend. I like that there's an All Star weekend that's separate from everything else, and then you
Hmm.
just throw back to Darlington. So personally, I don't mind the way it is. I could see why some people would be in favor of having the throwbacks at All Star. I mean that would be fun too, right? All those fans at North Wilkesboro would get to enjoy
Yeah.
throwbacks, but then you don't get the two different events.
And you don't get drivers punching each other out either.
Well, you never know with that.
No, I kid you not. I kid you not. I'm over here listening to Joe Logano talk. I walked away for a minute. I come back. I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? So I had to rewind it. And I was like, damn, what the hell did I miss? What happened at the beginning of the race that caused them two to fight each other? I'm like, what the hell? So then I go back and look, and I'm like, oh, okay. It's still funny though. With that
It was
being said, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was fined $75,000. I'm thinking JTG Daughtery might pay that fine for him, and an indefinite suspension of his father. But if you listen, the reason why it is because he got involved between the Kyle and Ricky Jr. fight. If Ricky Stenhouse Sr. did not touch Kyle Busch, he would have been okay. And when Senior got hit by Kyle Busch, I thought that was funny because that's what he gets for interfering in something that was between two separate people. And when Kyle said I don't give a fuck, I suck just as bad as you. I'm thinking, but damn, Kyle, why are you doubting yourself?
I don't think it's Kyle doubting himself. Kyle Busch has never doubted himself as a racer, as a performer, as a father, as a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he wasn't doubting himself as much as he was just calling out a fact of Richard Childress Racing. Their
Yeah,
cars suck right now, and
they do suck.
I think he was just calling out a fact
Mm-hmm.
in response to what Ricky said.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Busch has always worn his emotions on his sleeve. Kyle Busch has always told the media, fans, officials exactly what he's thinking, exactly when he's thinking it. He's never muted his mouth, with the exception maybe a little bit with RCR, but still he's let some stuff fly. But Kyle Busch said what he meant. What he said. He sucks just as much as Ricky Stenhouse is performing this year. That was a stated fact. I don't disagree with it, but I don't think it's a
I don't
Kyle.
either. I really don't either.
I don't think it's a Kyle Busch thing that he was saying. I think it was an RCR thing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically we suck just as bad as you.
Right.
But
And
he
I'm
didn't want to. He didn't
thinking,
want to throw Austin Dillon under that bus.
yeah, that's true. And you see, and that's fair. And it's like just like Ricky's, just like for example, Graham Rahal in the IndyCar qualifying last week. He's lucky that he's lucky. He's so lucky that he caught what happened with his car. I don't know if you've seen the run or not, but you could see the back wheel bouncing.
Yeah, and he
Basically,
felt it, and he immediately brought it back to pit road, and then he told the cameras, he was like, "I don't want to throw anybody under their bus, but he's like, everybody just needs to do their job." So
yep.
whatever he was saying in that moment, it was directed at someone. They
Hmm.
knew, and that team knew who it was directed at, but they weren't going to throw each other under the bus. I think that's a really good job by your driver and by an actual
Hmm.
team as a whole.
Yeah.
Listen, we fail together. We don't fail because of one person, right? You're only as strong as your
It
weak
takes a
link.
yeah. It takes a team to fail, and it takes a team to succeed.
Correct.
You see, me being a Graham Rahal fan, that Indy 500 pole day was the most stressful thing to ever watch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The last chance qualifying, and I'm thinking Nolan, and I'm thinking if Nolan did not crash,
He probably would
I'm
be
pretty
racing.
sure he probably would be racing on Sunday. But as
Right.
soon as he crashed, and I'm like, oh fuck.
No. And then when he got word that he was going to be in it, man, you could just see the relief, man.
Hmm.
That was some tense moments for that fan base.
Yeah, because Graham Rahal is from my hometown
Okay.
of Columbus, Ohio. So he's from New Albany, Ohio, which is not that far which is probably about like maybe 45 minutes from where I live at. But other than that, it's just like you compete to win.
Correct.
You compete to try and make it. before qualifying happened, when Kyle Larson was having his problems, Sony was like, "Oh look, Kyle Larson's not going to make the Indy 500." And I'm thinking, this goes to show you that you don't watch IndyCar when you don't realize you have multiple attempts at
Right.
completing 4 laps to make the 500.
Right.
But I got to give Kyle Larson props though, qualifying 5th place and then turning around and finishing 4th in the All Star race on the same day.
That guy is showing incredible speed. He's showing incredible determination. And of course, he's got the best freaking equipment he could have underneath his butt, right? At both in the
He
cup
did.
level and at Indy. So, it's no surprise that he's putting up ridiculous speeds, and he's definitely going to be one of those names in the top 10, I would say top 7 probably if he keeps that car clean at the Indianapolis 500.
Absolutely. I mean, hell, we could see him possibly competing for the win when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, I'm not leaning that direction. I'm not a buyer of that he can win this thing. I think there's way too
I'm not either. I'm just saying, I know he can compete and keep up with the big boys. In my honest opinion, Team Penske is the team to beat in Indy this weekend.
Right. And
because those 3 guys, they are mad fast.
And especially with Penske knowing that there's a Hendrick car joining them this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be even more determined to make sure that they don't end up in the podium.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like this is something you have not heard in a while. Ganassi, Hendrick, Penske, same race.
Yeah. What would be cool is to see Trackhouse put a car out there.
That'd be sweet. Put Ross Chastain in that car. Let him run Indy.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun.
Hell yeah, it would. Man, I tell you what, though. I mean, trust me, like I said, I've done the 500 virtually, and that is one pain in the ass race.
Right.
Whether it's in real life or virtually. I mean, it is the most stressful situation. That earlier that day, I had competed in the virtual Monaco Grand Prix. I finished fucking 2nd place.
Oh, nice.
And then I go race Indy virtually, and I finished 2nd to last. But I didn't give a fuck. I was just having fun. Now, was I going to do the 600? I was. Was I exhausted? I was. So I chose not to do the 600. I could have competed in all 3 races that day, virtually. But honestly, so when it comes to Monaco, well, we probably know. So Monaco it doesn't really have that spark, that umph anymore. Not since the Formula One cars are bigger. They all run straight forward. But could we see an upset in Monaco? Could Lando Norris win Monaco? But once you put Max Verstappen on the pole, there's no catching him.
Yeah, I just don't see anybody passing the guy once he's there. Like, it's just clockwork, right? It's midnight the same time every night, and Max Verstappen is at the front of the field. Chances are he's probably going to win the damn thing.
That is true. That is very true. And it's just like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to try and beat them, or are you just going to just go with the flow and just race Monaco? I tell you what, though, Monaco is one of the hardest tracks virtually to ever race on.
Yeah.
Like, it took me 5 tries to finally win at that damn track. When I finally did, I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that shit again.
Right.
I just did it in, like, regular career mode or whatever. Hey! But no, it's just like, you just keep, going and going and going and competing and racing, and then it's just like, what's your plan next after that? So, but with IndyCar, let's see, for 500, like I said, Penske seemed to be, I could see an upset happening, because, I mean, anything can happen in the 500. I mean, look at Marcus Ericsson a couple of years ago.
Right.
In 2022, came out of nowhere and won that race. Graham Rahal
He needed a couple of late restarts to polish that one off too.
Mm-hmm. And then you got the 600. When it comes to Charlotte, 600 miles, 400 laps, it's anybody's race.
Yes, sir.
Anybody's race. So you just got a lot.
gonna be a great
But
weekend. Looking
it's
forward
gonna
to
be
it.
it's gonna be a phenomenal weekend. But yeah, no, I have reached out to James Hinchcliffe to the James Hinchcliffe camp, and following Indy, they're going to see what his availability is, and we might have Hinchcliffe on the show,
Right on. Awesome.
and then
That'll
we
be
can. And what's crazy, I actually got to see Hinchcliffe race. I don't know if you remember it or not, but in 2014, I think it was 2015. 2015, Hinchcliffe got injured in practice
right.
for the 500, and Ryan Briscoe, there's a name you haven't heard in a while, took his spot. That was actually my first. That was my first 500. So
Okay.
being a Hinchcliffe fan, I'm like, well, this sucks. So I went to cheering on Helio Castroneves, and watching Pago Montoya have an issue with his wing falling off at the beginning of the race, ending up in 33rd and racing his way through the field and getting to first to win the race. That was pure talent, pure
Absolutely.
talent. And then in 2017, much of that, I just know that race was bad, fast. So that was a good race, but yeah. What what are your thoughts on the Hall of Fame inductees?
You know, I'm not surprised, right? Um, you've got here, give me those names real quick.
Uh, Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, and Ralph Moody.
Right. Not surprised at all. Carl Edwards, the dude was going to back, regardless of when he retired, he was going to backflip his way into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
No pun intended.
Right, right. Is just he's just incredible. Ricky Rudd, you can't say enough about him. I mean, these guys are all fully deserving of this honor. Now, I didn't personally see any of Ralph Moody's racing. That was way before I was a twinkle in the universe, you know.
Same.
But again, I did some reading once his name was announced, and just incredible stuff, man. It's a really good class. I'm surprised to see as many people frustrated with the picks as I have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, some people think that because neither one of them won a championship and neither one of them won a Daytona 500, they don't have the deserving right to be in the Hall of Fame. And this is how I look at it. It doesn't matter if you won the Daytona 500. It doesn't matter if you won the 600. It doesn't matter if you won a championship or not. If you have the talent and you have the records, you belong in the Hall of Fame. Look at Ricky Rudd, for example. Ricky Rudd is in the Hall of Fame because he had an incredible career despite having 23 wins only. He raced with two black eyes taped open at Richmond and still finished that race. You don't find drivers doing that today. Carl Edwards, he was just pure talent no matter if he was racing a truck, Xfinity. Actually, let me go old school here. Doesn't matter if he was racing in the Craftsman Truck Series, the Busch Series, or the Nextel Cup Series. You were a race car driver.
Right.
And then with Ricky Rudd, Winston Cup. He raced all the way up from Winston Cup until I want to say the early stages of the Nextel Cup. I want to say before it switched to Sprint. I can't remember.
Right.
But some people just are like, look, just instead of complaining, which every single freaking buddy does, do your research and see why they are.
Right. And you're getting a lot of breakup, but I think I'm about to lose you. But to piggyback on what you said, so that would be like assuming that Denny Hamlin is not going to be in the Hall of Fame because he's not a champion. Like that just doesn't
People would say
sound
that.
like
It
that just
doesn't.
doesn't sound correct. The guy has changed the sport. He has been one of the biggest names in the sport, and he's successful at the sport. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
And not to mention, he has what, 4 Daytona 500 victories, or is it 3?
He's at 3 right now.
I mean, just because he doesn't win a championship, he is one hell of a driver. I mean, he knows how to win. He knows how to race. I mean, hell, he's a car owner with one of the biggest names in sports, Michael Jordan.
I was gonna say it's not even gonna be just for his driving. Chances are he's probably gonna put the 23 or the 45 in a championship situation really soon.
Absolutely, because I say that because here's how I look at it. His career at Gibbs ends. He goes over and drives the third car for 2311 and brings the championship to 2311 under his own team instead of Joe Gibbs Racing. That's how I look at it. Now the
That'll be a
question
really interesting
is,
see if it plays out, but I don't know that he goes and drives. I think once Denny retires, Denny's going to retire. I don't think that he's going to, especially with his relationship with Gibbs and how his career went. I don't think he wants to join another team that way, even if it is his
right,
own team.
right. Hey, if he decides that look, I only got this amount of time left to race. Still gonna have my affiliation with Joe Gibbs Racing. Let me race the season with my own team after I retire. Go part time. Maybe Joe Gibbs allows him to take the number 11 to 2311. So you have the 23 and the 11 and the 45. You got Michael Jordan's two numbers, and then you got Denny Hamlin's number. Would that happen? It's all up to Gibbs if he was to give the number 11 to Denny Hamlin in 2311.
Right, and he will. There's no reason he won't. Like, there's no absolute reason why Coach Gibbs would not let Denny take that, especially when it's in the team name. Like it's 2311, you know.
Exactly. And it's like look at Richard Petty for example, and Kyle Petty. They gave Denny Hamlin the number 45. So it's like these teams don't own these numbers.
Right. If
Just
it's
like
available, use it.
right, just like RCR had the 31 for multiple years. It's with College Racing now. It's like these teams don't own these numbers. It's just a matter of if the number's available, you take it. And that's what some people don't understand.
And
Sure,
that's
some
why
people are like,
we're here to talk about it so that we can get that information out so people have a better understanding of some of the things that don't make sense in NASCAR.
right. And I was watching something yesterday, and this is what cracks me up. The third year in a row, for years in a row, Daytona 500 sells out. Other races sell out. The Coca-Cola 600 sells out. I'm watching this video of Dale running the 98 Daytona 500, and somebody's going to put in the comment, NASCAR died when Dale died. How? Explain to me how NASCAR died when he died. Because it didn't. Dale Earnhardt was not NASCAR. NASCAR was around long before it was even a driver in the series. It's been around since 1949. If these new generation people would do their research and realize that Dale Earnhardt did not create NASCAR, they'd be able to stop saying, "Oh, NASCAR died when he died." NASCAR is just getting better.
Right. I would have to agree. I think NASCAR has made so many changes. I think the people that do express that kind of emotion towards the sport are probably a little confused with how to choose another favorite driver because Dale was their guy and he was taken so suddenly. Um, I think some of those opinions come from people that struggle to accept that NASCAR is adapting and changing and it's not going to be the same as it was in the 80s and 90s. And I think that's why they say NASCAR is dead or died with Dale. No, it hasn't, because they're still putting races on for 9 months out of the year. So NASCAR is very full and alive, whether you want to be a part of it or not. That's your choice.
Right. And it's like this. And when people put on their call it NASCAR, then don't watch, don't comment on the NASCAR pages, unfollow the NASCAR pages, and move on with your life.
Right.
That's how I look at it. I mean,
That's kind of where I'm getting with my responses with people. It's like, if y'all are so upset with this sport, why are you here? Why are you on the pages? Why do I see you complaining on every single page? If NASCAR was dead, nobody would be here talking about it.
right.
And that includes the people that hate it, or I say
Yeah.
hate, but the people that are upset with NASCAR. You're still
Yeah.
here
And that
commenting.
includes our show right here. I mean, yes, we talk about other sports or other motorsports, but our main topic is NASCAR. That is our main topic each week out.
Right.
Because the other series, they don't race every weekend like NASCAR does.
Right.
And it's like, And for me, if it wasn't for NASCAR still going on, I probably wouldn't be a racing fan anymore. Like I've been
Yeah,
a racing fan, and every year I expand my horizons. I just don't watch Formula E because I find electric car racing boring. But I expand my horizons and watch different types of racing each year in and year out. That's never going to change.
right.
I mean, the only reason why I started this show is because I wanted to talk about NASCAR and racing with other people. Hence, this is how this show got created. I never once did it. I never once wanted to do a podcast ever. But then somebody who I don't talk with anymore asked me, said, "Hey, would you like to do a bit on my show?" I said, "Sure, I'll try it out." And that bit ended up featuring Bill Lester. Bill Lester was my very first ever podcast interview on an old podcast called 2488. And you know what? That was not no interview. That was two dudes talking about racing.
Right. That's one of the things I love about the podcast is you can kind of just chill like you're chilling in your living room having a conversation
Yeah.
and not so professional. It's not so it's not so like high strung, and you just relax and talk about racing, talk about your
Right.
standings, talk about the guys you like, and talk about the guys you dislike.
Right. Hell, for example, when we had Andy J on here, we didn't talk about an interview. It was men talking about racing.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, and with Matt Jasper, we let him talk. I mean, we let him talk. I think this was before you joined the show, but we just let him talk. I mean, like the new drivers that we bring on here, it ain't gonna be just an interview. It's gonna be drivers talking about racing, talking about what we love,
Right.
and that's what we do. I mean, it's not like, oh, okay, we don't have anything else to talk about. There's always something to talk about in the world of racing, whether it's NHRA or NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, F2, F3, USF Juniors, things like that. It doesn't matter if it has four wheels or two wheels. We're going to talk about
Right.
it. But so this summer, I did this I think last year. I'm thinking about bringing a segment called Summer of Dirt, where we take 10 minutes each show to talk about dirt racing, whether
Okay.
it's local dirt racing, modifieds, sprint cars, motorcycles, anything. We're going to talk about it. And it's like now we are 2 episodes away from episode 30. Could you imagine? Can you believe, Don, that we've made it to almost 30 episodes in such a short amount of time?
Man, it goes like that. It feels like y'all just invited me yesterday, and now we're already rattling off 30 of these things, man. It's incredible.
It is. And honestly, if it wasn't for Chris giving me the idea of how to, break this down, dirty Mo media style, shout out to Dale Jr. down there. This the way this show is run is based off of what they did. The different segments and different things. I say 3 shows a week. Let's see, a show talking about mostly all racing, a show dedicated straight to NASCAR, and then a Friday show to preview the weekend. I think it's working out perfectly. I mean, I've had people feedback to me saying, "Hey, dude, this show is great. How can we tune in each and every single time?" I said, "You get a notification on Spotify and it's uploaded. Listen, there you go.
Right.
Spread it. People around the world, spread the show. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you want to like. If you want something else to happen, then cool. If you want to talk about virtual iRacing, I'm down for it because it's still racing."
Right.
I mean, I think it was last night they had a photo finish in the Coca-Cola Racing Series last night for their Coca-Cola 600, and it's just like we still got a lot of season left. How many more races are we going to see side by side, neck and neck, possible photo finishes this season?
If you're giving me an over under, I would say three more.
Because I tell you what, if ever since they've updated the cars, they've updated the technology, we've had nothing but
Right.
pure racing like it was. It's not that, oh, I didn't like that 2-car tandem stuff that they tried. And most it's not follow the leader anymore. It's more neck and neck, side by side racing each and every single week.
Right.
And it's just like Indy's going to be even different. Indy At Indy, you can have 5 wide or 4 wide racing.
Yep, without even blinking.
I mean, I've seen it in person. So it's like, it's going to be a great weekend of racing. So I'm just waiting on word from Samantha Tan's camp, and I sent them some information about the show. I sent them a couple of our episodes, um, and see if I can't get a date set up with her. She was the first interview on the original show, which was then called Race Talk, due to political type reasons. I had to change the name of the show because if you type in Race Talk, it brings up some political stuff. So I had to change it to the name, and then the name that we settled on now is all because of Samantha Bush. So yeah,
And shout out to Samantha. Man, I wonder what was going through her mind when when Kyle and Ricky were going at it.
I know. It's just like, and it's like this. They say it's any given Sunday for football. No, it's any given Sunday for racing.
Yep, you never know what you're going to get, man. That's why
Never
we show up
know.
and race.
That is true. Um, I was looking at some past NHRA stuff, and I think this is John Force's last year at 75 years old.
And isn't that crazy to think about? Like, that dude is still doing quarter-mile runs professionally at the highest level.
Right, and then he's got, his daughters are racing. It's
Right.
his son-in-law is an IndyCar driver. It's crazy. And one of my good buddies that I went to high school with, his name is AJ, and he works for John Force Racing.
Oh, nice.
And it's just like, and it all started with him doing a show like we do each and every single week, and it got him into the sport. If we keep going like this, Don, we could be at the track each and every single weekend, race weekend,
man.
with our show.
That's the goal. That's what we're aiming for, man. We gotta manage the early parts and figure it all out, and hopefully somebody notices and gives us a shot out there, because we would love to cover the races in person each and every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, or Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Like,
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
would be the dream job.
Yeah, because now I did talk with Indianapolis Motor Speedway this afternoon, presidential wise. They said after this weekend's Indy 500, reach back out to them when they come up from Memorial Day break, and they're going to see about, because they said that since we are on Spotify, we would technically be counted as a legitimate podcast
Correct.
for media. And they says if they can get his credentials, our first credential race would be the return of the Brickyard 400.
You're gonna have to repeat that last part, Jordan. You're breaking up, bud.
If we do get approved for credentials for media for IMS, our first credential race as media would be the Brickyard 400.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. But I'm going to. I say this was a hell of a show today, Don.
Great show, Jordan. Love it.
But so I will be joining you guys again tomorrow night.
Good.
Hopefully we have the full game tomorrow night. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, Don.
Have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And man, race weekend's right there. I can feel it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Safe.